Water. It's what's for dinner. Welcome to America. Okay, so let's take a look at Cellar of Ghosts. Here's a clip. I think this was one of the most enjoyable songs to read the lyrics as far as like knowing what the hell's going on, because the descriptions seem very literal. There's not a lot of like allegory or simile, but I can see myself as this character looking at what we're about to describe, which we'll start with the beginning. In the cellar, underneath the stairs, sips of wine stole when I was young. Candlelight ghost stories. It's a recollective way of saying like, this is where I used to steal some sips of wine because I knew I wasn't allowed to have it, whether they liked it or not. Right. But then also when we would go down here, because it was kind of spooky, a fond memory was that somebody would tell a ghost story or try to scare us somehow.
His brother. Yeah. So in this, like, we're like, I sort of lighten the mood, but I also don't.
You're setting it up to hurt me.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's remembering, that's a very good memory, like being young and going down and taking a sip of wine and putting a little bit of water in there. So hopefully they don't notice, you know, he's remembering that. You know, ghost stories, like, unless he's telling them to himself, like my idea was that he was telling his brother, you know?
Yeah.
And there were a lot of good memories down in that cellar hanging out.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I mean, funnily enough, because I've never had a cellar or like a basement necessarily. I mean, we've lived obviously in a house that was a tri-level, but I've never had like a basement. I think of it as like this kind of ornate, like, it's not like stone. It's like this refined wood, like almost like a gaming room, like a den sort of. But as the description goes on, we sort of have like the memory of the rest of the house which is that it's like not very well kept. So does he go into the cellar, or does he just look down through the threshold to it?
I imagine him being there. Throughout the album, I imagine him being in the rooms that he's talking about.
Okay. Or like walking around in the space, because like the backyard, right?
Yeah.
Going and stuff like that. So you go on to say, every time that I climb the stairs, sun pouring on floor like fire on flower. Sun pouring on flower like fireflies, dust settling room, dust set upon my eyes. You're always putting stuff on eyes, dude. What's the deal?
It's a good symbol. That's really it.
Going back to video one, it was always about like the biblical thing, right?
That's kind of, I think, where it came from, the whole scales on the eyes things. But yeah, I mean, this is him talking about seeing his mom make bread.
Really?
Yep. Every time that he would climb the stairs, cellars often would lead into kitchens.
Oh,
right? Because
okay.
that's where you would leave things to stay cold, right? So, you know, like vegetables and wine and things like that.
Canned goods, yeah. Okay.
Canned goods, yep. So every time he would climb the stairs, the sun would be pouring on flour, right? And so she's making bread, she's making the dough, and in the evening, the sun is like sort of like volumetrically coming through the window, and there's flour kind of puffing in the air, and it's moving around, and it's glowing from the sun like fireflies.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that kind of makes him think about dust, right? And something terrible happened, so the dust settles. Like, that reminds me of Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap.
Again, second time in this album. Crop circles in the carpet.
Oh yeah, but neither time was intentional.
No, yeah.
But yeah, dust settling room. So like he's in there, and he's feeling the weight of what happened, right? So he's in that good moment and simultaneously in the bad memory of it, or in the painful memory of it. And then dust set upon my eyes. That's just another illusion to dying, because he can't see. He's becoming blinded. Humans made from dust covering his eyes. So it's like he remembers his mother. He remembers the flower, but the flower turns to dust, and the flower is blinding him. So a good memory very quickly becomes a toxic, painful memory.
Wow, that's a much deeper stanza than I gave it credit for.
And that can happen a lot. You know, when you're like in a really deep cycle of depression, like any good memory you have or any good thought you have, your brain just turns it into a bad one. Wow. And it's very hard to escape. You can, but it's very hard.
Wow. Let's scroll a little bit here.
Yeah.
Right there. So this next section, you say, I never knew the pain in your hands. I took for granted the days that I saw you. The line, I never knew the pain in your hands. The first thing I think of is how my dad, he has like arthritis, right?
Yeah.
Old hands. And to say I never knew the pain in your hands is almost to say like you never complained. You never didn't do something for me because it was going to cause you pain. You just wanted to do for me. There's sort of like a lovingness to that in a way.
Yeah, like, very much so. In the album, there's a lot of homemade stuff.
Right.
There's handmade curtains. She's making the family's bread.
Yeah.
Handwriting letters and notes. And so he's thinking about it now as an adult who's been through hardship. And he's like, I never, when I was young, appreciated what you did. Because like our parents, their hands get all knobbly and like, and it's very much from hard work, right? And so he's like just remembering the pain of being a mom and being a parent and what that comes with. And he's just realizing not only did he take for granted the days that he saw her, but also the things that she did for him, which sometimes people can feel pretty guilty of, but like kids don't know about that.
Right. No.
Kids, I would say even up to like mid-teens to early 20s don't fully understand, until you like get out in the actual adult world and you're very much responsible for yourself, which bro, I didn't have a good handle on being an adult till I was like 30. That was only 4 years ago.
Right. Right.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
And that's when you start to look back and you realize like, holy crap, that was a big sacrifice on my parents' part. So it's kind of what that's talking about.
One of the things this brings to mind is I recently visited my mom, and that my mom still lives in the house that I basically grew up in. And so I look at her neighbors and like the composition of the street that I would play on and I would meet my friends on and I would race my bike down. And I look at this street and how much different it is than my memory. Right. And so I think about these neighbors who have come and gone and like the impact they left on me. There was this guy, he lived next door. His name was Mel. And he used to work on big rigs in his yard. So there was always a massive truck right next to our house. But he was missing the tip of one of his fingers. And every time somebody, not just the same person, would ask him, he always had a different story. Like he just made it up and it kind of became like legend, like, oh yeah, don't do that because that's how Mel lost his finger. He kind of became the guy that you could kind of bounce that idea off of. So I think about that the same way here, where it's like the things that have gone like underappreciated or forgotten in retrospect, not necessarily nostalgia, but just in your memory, informs you based on your current experiences. Like Mel and his finger loss, like I still don't know to this day which story was real.
Probably none of them. He
probably just had fun with it and he was like, yeah, it happened, so let's have some fun. Anyways, I digress. So those two lines I think are beautiful. And then you go on to say, what does it mean to be standing here, to breathe in your ghost again? I can't release this. So he's kind of rhetorically saying, like, philosophically, like, what does it mean to be standing in this spot again? What is he trying to gain from it? What does he hope the outcome will be? And then he says, to breathe in your ghost again. Is that supposed to be literal, or like breathe the same dust and the same like flower?
It means, so, you got the first part absolutely right. He's asking himself, like, why did I even come here? Right. Like, what was the purpose of me coming to my childhood home? Why am I standing in these rooms? And to breathe in your ghosts again is basically like taking, like, it's more so than like thinking about kind of puts the symbol on the outside. Like, I'm thinking about my mom. That's a thought that I have that's kind of over here. But breathing in a ghost, there's kind of like a possession element to that.
Wow.
Right? Like, like spirit possession, right? And so not only is, and that I imagine would not be a good thing.
Probably not.
Probably not. But he's like becoming possessed with this regret and he can't let go of it. And it's also got this feeling of like holding his breath, to breathe in your ghosts again. I can't release this. I can't release my breath. Right. And what do living things got to do? They got to breathe. They got to respirate. It's an important motion.
All right. Teacher Mark.
Diaphragm contracts.
All right. We're done.
Well, it does.
It does contract. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and scroll up a little bit for me here. Yeah. Come away with me. You know what that makes me think of every time? I know. It's not the I know part. It's that TikTok song. The one where she says, Come away with me into the something. I'm singing the same melody because I'm stuck on it right now. But there's a TikTok trend out there that uses a song where the words are "come away" and then something else completely.
Come away with me, Norah Jones.
You stole a Norah Jones track, dude.
I mean, no.
We got him, but
kick down the door.
Okay, so here you say, "Come away with me. I know. All the hours that I have spent alone. Come away with me. I know. I am bound by my past. I should have known." You got to break this down. What's going on here?
So the important thing is really just the tone. This is a lot less about what I'm trying to say and a lot more about the tone that I'm trying to create. So the lines here are important. Come away with me, like he's wishing he could leave and take his family with him, but he can't. All the hours that I've spent alone, basically his life. I guess I should have said days or years, but hours. I needed that syllable hour, right? All the hours that I needed that. So that's just his life after he left. You know, I'm bound by my past. I should have known is like, again, obvious. It's the I knows that I think are the most important. Because like, this is something I've heard you say and me say and everything. But like when there's a situation that is outside of your control, you're just like, I know. That's what it is.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
So he's saying to kind of nobody, to himself, the situation. He's, it's like, I'm belting it. But in my mind, he's just like standing, having a moment of honesty with himself, saying that his situation's pretty dire. And he's just like, I know. It's never coming back.
Wow.
So it's more about, that section is more about painting an emotional tone than it is like the things that he's saying.
I get that completely. I also think that there's a lot to be said about the delivery of these lines, not necessarily like the cadence of them, but like the waver in the voice, in your pitch, the vibrato that you add in certain notes and how you hang on certain things. Come away with me. I know. It's like that. It's almost like hopeless, but like also, I don't know. There's a lot of tone in there, like you said, the vibe.
It's exactly why I dropped that note.
All the hours that I have spent alone. There's something about if I said to you, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's only been like 20." You'd be like, 20 is a relatively small number. 20 what? 20 years. Oh, that seems huge now. Yeah. But if I said all the hours that I have spent alone, and we know this dude is wicked old, we're talking like thousands and thousands of entire hour increments where this guy is just isolated and he's in his own little world. It kind of makes it that much more visceral in a way.
I see that. That's
my argument. All right, let's scroll a little bit more here because now we're getting into what is like a quote. We're right there where you, that's good. Where you say, "I'll make things right." Is that him just like kind of like almost being declarative about it? Like a turning point right here in his mind where he's like, you know what? I know what has to be done.
It could be. So this was another filler. We were recording
another ad lib,
and we were recording, and we were like, we need something here, and so this is what I came up with.
That's right, that melody. Bang things right.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another thing that, and this happens a lot when you're doing filler because you don't have time to like write like something deep and meaningful. It could be him saying he's going to turn a new leaf.
Nope.
Or it could be him. I'm trying to think about this. This is a very sensitive thing to say.
Really?
Not for me, but just topic wise.
Okay. We'll try to be judgment free here so Mark can get the idea out. Whenever you're ready.
There is.
We will wait patiently.
First and foremost, I have been in this mindset. And if you're in this mindset, this is not me saying that this feeling means you're making the right decision. In fact, this feeling is a very large indicator that it's time to ask for some help. But I remember that when I was very interested in unaliving, once I decided to do it, I felt pretty damn good. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know when, but I knew I was going to do it. And it was very relieving. I had a pretty good day that day. It was a pretty good day. I don't remember what I did. I just remember that because you feel like it's going to be done. Right now, of course, I ended up going to the hospital and my life turned around and I started business and I got married and I've got a son on the way. And so it's a really good thing that I didn't do that. And I'm very glad that I didn't. It's only been better since I decided to take care of it. So that feeling is not necessarily, it's a bad sign. It's like, hey, does your leg hurt? No, I haven't felt my leg in 20 years. It's like, whoa, like not feeling your leg. That's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I haven't pooped in 3 weeks. Things are great. You're like, no, that's not good.
That's horrifically bad.
Yeah. So if you feel that way and you think about it and it makes you feel better, it's like, ew, now is very much a time to get some help. But that's what it is. In my mind, this is when he decides what's going to go on. This is when he sets his mind on the liminal rite, which he will be performing in the last track.
Yeah. Oof. Interesting how this record is about like the ritualization of his unaliving, and Neverbreath's entire record.
Neverbreath was also about that. Yeah.
That burp is garlicky.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I had dessert now. Okay, so we get through there. I'll make things right. Not a healthy spot to be in. Misted face in the mirror, I'll become your host. Growing shade of a past I can no longer know. Misted face in the mirror. Here we are with a reflection again.
Mm-hmm.
Misted face. Is this kind of like when you're looking through a mirror that's had like steam over it for a long time and it's kind of got that blurry...
So the misted is not very literal. I just wanted to come up with a word that's like kind of shadowy and kind of phantomy. And misted face that has a nice, like a nice staccato.
Yes.
Because the I'll make things right. I'll make things right. It's very soft.
Yeah.
And then misted face in the mirror. I'll be like, there's a lot of like going on. So it's just good contrast. But now he sees himself as a ghost, which he did before, a ghost in the window, a ghost on the lawn. Now he sees himself as a ghost. And he's saying like, I will become you. So this is just a further moment of him deciding like, yep.
He's doubling down.
He's doubling down. Growing shade of a past I can no longer know. A shade is another word for like a ghost or a phantom.
Right.
Right. There's a magic card, I think, called Nightwing Shade.
Sure.
And so this is just, again, like you said, doubling down.
I find this, I never found that to be the double down. The turning point to me was somehow across the album was like track 4, track 5, something like that. But here I'm seeing like, I'll make things right as the fulcrum of the entire record now.
It kind of is, I guess. I never thought about it, but I guess
it's so declarative in being like, from this point forward, there's no other path. Like this is the path.
Mm-hmm.
You then go on to say, what does it mean to lose my own name to thoughts that have left me alone? I can't release this. Again, we kind of go back to the I can't release this, which I think is a motif. Not being able to let go of things.
Because before he says, what does it mean to be standing here, to breathe in your ghost again? I can't release this.
There it is.
Now he's saying, what does it mean to lose my own name? He's forgotten his mother's name.
Yeah.
He's forgotten his brother's name.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to forget his own name. And he's forgetting them because of or to the thoughts that left him alone is weird, because left me alone, now that I'm saying it out loud, it means like they haven't bothered me. But what I mean by that is, I left my dog alone. I have to go get him, right? That's what he means. It's like the thoughts have left him feeling alone, not that they have not been bothering him.
Right.
So what does it mean to die? Because you're not going to, like, when you're dead, you don't know your own name. And he's going to become a ghost. And he can't let go.
There's something wildly poetic about when you have nothing left but your name to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the absolute, point of no return. Like you could have everything in the world, but if you lose your own name, what do you have, right?
Oh, that's a really a very real thing as well. Because sometimes people are like, hey, at least I have my health. And it's like, a healthy asshole is not going to do as well in society as an unhealthy nice guy. You know what I mean? So like,
what the fuck?
Well, no, like you think, like, you're talking about losing your name, right?
Right.
What if the name Nico was tarnished beyond all return?
Right. Okay. That's a good point.
You could have the most health possible, but nobody will talk to you. Nobody will hire you. Nobody will interact with you. Kardashev would probably tank because of the
benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
They're all gone. Right. And so I'm not like alluding to anything. It's just, you kind of said that and it gave me this thought of like, your name and your reputation really, really kind of is the worst thing to lose, because unhealthy people get taken care of assholes generally don't.
The first thing that comes to mind with the losing your own name is like how Odysseus in the Iliad used having no name to his advantage because no one could track him down, right? He's in the Cyclops' cave, and he takes the Cyclops' eye out of his head, and he says, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name is Nobody." So when the Cyclops has to declare to his father Poseidon that he's been harmed and he needs retributions against this person, he declares, "Nobody has harmed me. Nobody has harmed me." And so he could never be like found to be, taken at.
Those old mythological stories were all about trickiness.
Totally.
They were all about
1000%, dude. Bunch of tricksters, dude. Anyways, Nico's fun little asides here while Mark steals the show with his awesome lyrics. Let's talk about let's scroll up a little bit. It's on screen, but I'll start reading it. "I'll stay awake until I am dead." This is kind of a weird line for me. Why do you say this? I'll stay awake, like I'll never rest. I'll never find peace again until death.
Pretty much.
Or that death is so soon, I will likely not have another rest.
More the first one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. "I'll stay awake until I am dead. A shadow song of memories bled." Is shadow song one of those kennings? Is it a kenning? What's the thing where it's like whale road?
I guess you could think of it as one. I don't think it's technically one, but basically, yeah, he's talking about like his last hours. He's like, I am going to my life, my remaining existence is just going to be my remaining existence, and the way in which I am going to unalive is going to be my lasting legacy.
I think Shadow Song is, to me, if it was a kenning, which I guess it's not, Shadow Song would be like dying breath.
Yeah, it could be that.
Something along those lines. "A shadow song of memories bled, a cracking floor, my old creaking bones. I've lost my life to things I don't own." We obviously know the cracking floor and creaking bones, those are just literal things that are happening to him in the house. But I've lost my life to things I don't own.
So the cracking floor and the old creaking bones, that's an analogy to where he's kind of become a part of the house. And so the house's fate is going to be his fate.
I see.
As we will find.
And
then "I've lost my life to things I don't own." That's a reference to earlier in the album, "Blinded by greed for a past I don't own."
Wow.
In the car bit. Yeah, he's talking about that. At first he was blinded. Now he's losing his life because not only can he not own the individual items of his past, but you don't own your past. That's the thing. Your past is not a possession that you have, right? It's things that happened that shape your life, and you have to work in that context, right? Like I own that camera that's filming us right there.
Right.
So I have power over it.
Right.
Right. My past decides me. You know what I mean? The bad things I've done, the people I've hurt, the people I've treated well, the good things I've done, those all build the sort of like, like the tip of the wave that I ride that is my life. Like if you've seen Donnie Darko, you've seen Donnie Darko, the little
that like weird silver orb thingy that moves. Yeah.
There are two ways. I don't know if this is what it's about, but there are two ways you can look at it. You can look at it as the head is the tip of the little ghostly creature coming out of their chest is leading. It's creating it, and that's a reference of where it's been, or that what's behind the tip is pushing it forward, and this has no control over where it's going. Right.
Whoa.
And that's kind of more so what it's saying in Donnie Darko, from my interpretation. Great movie if you haven't watched it. Is that that is coming out of the person, and the person follows that path. Right. So the things that we do in our life, think about it this way. I've got a son on the way. I can't own or change the fact that I have a son on the way, and that's going to decide literally the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so now the past that he doesn't own, because, it has power over him. We all have choices, of course. He's lost his life to it. He's accepting that it's going to be what kills him, basically.
Almost like a way of saying, stop fighting it. It's already done.
Kind of, yeah.
Acceptance in a way. The last lines here. This is all I knew. I ran. Dead men don't come home. I'll rest.
So this is a really interesting line because it's funny because deathcore and death metal vocal mispronunciations changed the lyrics. The original lyrics were supposed to be, "This is all I knew. I ran. Dead men don't come home again."
Right.
But sometimes in metal vocals, if you don't want your airflow to stop, you'll say like you would pronounce again as again, right? Rogrun, rogrun. And just the punchiness of the syllable carries the message. Or like when I'm doing a lot of metal vocals, I don't say duh, I say duh, 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 with the sides of my teeth, or the lateral approximant lisp, duh, 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 right? Because that allows my airflow to be less interrupted. And there is no reason for me to have done that in a clean singing session, but because I still view myself more as a metal vocalist than a singer, just the muscle memory means I pronounced again as again, which sounds like I'll rest in the album. And so I was like, well, there's no getting around that. So we're changing the lyrics to I'll rest.
Whoa.
Yeah. And if you listen, another thing that you do in a lot of metal vocals is the consonant T, or the sound TH, this can be a little bit difficult, because if you have air moving through and you're occluding the airway, it can build up pressure in your mouth that pushes back down on your distortion mechanism. And so what you'll do is you'll say yes, right? So you hear that a lot in a lot of older deathcore.
Is that a mixed onset?
That is a mixed onset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, that's all I know. Or, instead of glottal onsets, they say yai, yes. You hear that a lot. That's the reason if you listen to the album, you'll hear me say, yes is all I knew, I rest. And I didn't realize it until we were like in the studio with Maya. And then I was like,
guess that's on there.
What's the first word of this line? Yes.
Yes.
But essentially what it's saying there, because the lyrics still work, is that it's a little funky, but essentially he's like, all I knew was regret. And so I ran away from home. I left. And then dead men don't come home again. That line was supposed to mean that he was like already lost, but it kind of doesn't make sense. So it's almost good that the lyrics change. Dead men don't come home, I'll rest. Like nobody's coming back. His family's not coming back. His father's not coming back. Nobody's coming back. So he's just going to give up and go to sleep, basically.
Yeah. Does this a way to kind of link this in, even though it was somewhat unintentional, is previously in this song, there was something about how I won't rest until I'm dead.
I'll stay awake until I am dead.
So now here it's almost like kind of either the opposite, where he's saying I'll rest.
Yeah, if you're looking for a consistency of messages in these last two stanzas, you ain't gonna find it.
Right. Okay, that's understandable.
You ain't gonna find it, and that's I would love to say that was 100% intentional, but I write leading with emotion, so sometimes disagreements like that do happen. But it really makes sense here because, like,
emotion for you, dude, it's pulling you, dude.
But it really makes sense because, like, that's one thing that's really difficult for people who are not mentally ill to understand about mentally ill people. They'll be like, well, that just doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, if you're trying to talk to a person who is in a really deep bout of depression or delusion or psychosis, and you are upset at them for not making sense, that's like walking into a Burger King and being like, well, this isn't Taco Bell.
Yeah.
It's like you clearly are not prepared to be interacting with that human at that time.
Sure.
And that's the thing. Like sometimes you'll hear a lot of people be like, oh yeah, I have no respect for anybody who unalives. It's so cowardly. And it's like, much of the time, the people who make that decision are doing it because they think it's better for the people they love. And it can feel like you are sacrificing yourself for the greater good. Is it the right choice? Absolutely not. But to call somebody cowardly, I'm going to use a buzzword. I'm not going to use a buzzword. It just shows how lucky you are that you've never been in that situation.
I know that word.
You know that word.
It
shows how lucky you are that you've never been in that situation. So yeah, that's kind of like a little rant, but the nonsensical, the disagreements in this part, it's mostly just for me writing purely emotionally, and it happens to work out.
Yeah,
with the story.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Well, that's what is this? Cellar of Ghosts? This is Cellar of Ghosts, isn't it?
That's so we we'll stop there, but we have Glass Phantoms, A Vagabond's Lament, and Beyond the Passage of Embers.
Yeah.
And Beyond the Passage of Embers does not actually have a lot of lyrics, so we may be interested in just finishing out in the next video all 3 songs.
Yeah, maybe this will be a 4-video series instead of a 5.
Could be.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. And in any case, thank you, Mark, for being here. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and comment, like, subscribe, blah, 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 all the normal stuff that YouTube stuff has to say. We do have a podcast. It's called Kardashevband. It's available on most podcasting platforms. You can listen to it there, or if you'd like to support us directly, you can go to Kardashevband.com and sign up for the Enlisted Traveler program, where you can watch talks like this, not about lyrics, but about other things.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to reiterate, because I think it's very, very important. As somebody who has been on the precipice of not being alive and here today, it is absolutely the right choice to reach out for help. And I know that if you're watching this, you may tell yourself, well, for me, it's not. And I'm not going to downplay that, because I know how it is. Every solution that's offered to you, you have to shoot down. I've been there, but just trust it. Whether it's a phone number you got to call, whether it's a person you can confide in. If you don't have anybody in your life, you can check yourself in. I spent about a week in a psychiatric ward, and it was tough, but it was tough and it was hard, and there were things that were frustrating, but I also got to eat pudding 3 times a day, and that was dope. So you know what I mean? Like, if you're there, like, reach out to somebody you can trust. If you don't have anybody you can trust, call a hotline. If you can't get a hold of a hotline, you literally can just walk into an emergency room and say, I'm thinking about doing this and I don't know what to do. And they will set you up. And it'll suck, but it'll be a really good decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for hanging.